Hey viewing folk, I'm going to start doing a vlog, because that's what all the cool kids are doing these days. And, as you can see from the board, I'm going to do a review of The Hunger Games, the book. Not the film, that hasn't come out yet, disappointingly. The board doesn't look very legible, but it must be, because I graduated handwriting class at school. I'm the first person to do so. My mother was very proud. Well, I thought this would be a good place to start, because there's so much interest around the Hunger Games at the moment. For example, the interest got to such a hype, people have started quote-unquote stalking Jennifer Lawrence, who's going to play Katniss. All I know is she has chosen not to spend her time with me, so me and her are going to have problems. So back to the review. Overall, in short, it's good. I mean, not if you're like a super brainiac and you go to Oxford to do English literature and general braininess, it's probably not the right challenge for you. But if you're looking for a book not to be stimulated but just find fun to read, then this is good. Otherwise, just don't do it. Ever. Okay. Back to review. In short, it's good. There's more to say than it's good, I imagine. Well, if you're a massive intellectual and you go to Oxford to do academics and English literature and general braininess, don't get this. This isn't stimulating enough for you. It's not the challenge you're looking for, but if you're a normal person who reads for fun, not to analyze everything and find some hidden meaning in how the sentence works or how the syntax goes or how they use assonance every now and again, then get this, because this is good. So now and long. Well, the story is, it's set in futuristic North America, which has been destroyed by war, called Panem. Though there's no reference to it really being North America, they have not a good knowledge of modern, for us, North America. So it feels very disjoint to our modern world. There's the capital. Oh my god, I can do a map. So, but they have their capital, which is represented by the circle, which has Jennifer Lawrence in. And then 12 districts around them. District 12 is the main one. I don't know why I drew that, it's not accurate nor helpful, I just like to show that I can draw circles sometimes. And there was a revolt once, though the districts lost. And as a result, the capital came up with this system called the Hunger Games to remind them of their inferiority, where each district would give one male and one female tribute from the age of 12 to 18, or 17 or 18, and they would be put in an arena, it would be a televised event, and only one would come out. Grim is essentially child abuse to the extreme, and it's not nice. Okay, so the style is first-person narrative, and the narrator is Katniss Everdeen, who is the female tribute from District 12. Okay, and she's a heavily involved narrator, and she's rather self-involved, so you don't get to find out much about some of the secondary characters, and you don't see anything that happens unless it's happening directly to her. She is essentially as socially integrated as Artie is to the Glee Club, which occasionally lead to a potential flaw as a narrator, because you don't find out background of other characters, and you don't see how her family react to the games, because there's no means for her to know it, because she's in the games. But the plus side is you get to know a lot more about her, and you get a really good understanding of her as a character. This isn't necessarily bad, but you could contrast it to The Great Gatsby, where the narrator, Nick Carraway, I've only ever read it, that's probably pronounced incorrectly, is the narrator, and he takes a backseat to Gatsby and the world sort of unraveling around him and you don't learn as much about him. These are two perfectly acceptable styles. Whether this is bad or good is completely upon the reader's judgment. Also, it's incredibly descriptive. Katniss has, like, description Tourette's. The second something new happens to her, she describes it. Though this is much more at the start of the book. The only downside is the Hunger Games don't start till halfway through the book. Like page 200 or around there at least. So characters. I will as stated, the character who's of most importance is Katniss Everdeen, the narrator, who you find a lot about because, as well as having description Tourette's, everything she thinks in great detail, and the reader gets to find it out and gets a great understanding of her. She's generally just somewhat nice, very family orientated, loving to her little sister, aged prematurely, but ultimately flawed. And her flaws are interesting because they're managed in a good way, because she's cold, unforgiving, antisocial, essentially a social tortoise, and a person who, if she approaches you in real life, you want her to sit on the table next to you, even if you're on your own. But somehow people still relate to her. And I do as well. I like her as a character, despite what I previously said about wanting her to sit not next to me on the table. And the way this is managed or conveyed makes her a good character. Because if they present a realistic flawed character who people still want to like, then it's good. And I think the way it works is she's a product of her environment opposed to just a heartless individual. And none of her flaws are her own merit in a way. They're all due to what she's been through. And on top of this, she has moments of completely redeeming brilliance, where she'll do something so utterly selfless and good and kind that everything else will pushed aside for a bit and you forget about the people she's killed or the animals she's hunted or her mother she refuses to talk to and all of that slightly unflattering characteristics. Okay, so there are background characters there, and they come across as somewhat underdeveloped at times due to the narrating style and Katniss's refusal to integrate herself with them. Somewhat realistic because she's going to have to kill them, so there's no reason she would get to know them. But somewhat frustrating because there's one character in particular called Foxface, who I'm totally in love with. She's brilliant, but you find out so little about her. I just want her to have her own spin-off. The Adventures of Foxface. But then there's Peeta, who is the secondary character, the one we get the best look at of the male tribute from District 12, who Katniss is forced to learn about and forced to understand and spend time with. But he's sort of presented as perfect, and the reader's never given a reason to dislike him, really. Though it's briefly hinted this could be a facade, and he could have some inner, darker workings to him, but it's never explored, and it's always overshadowed by him being kind and being generous and being perfect and being likable. And the only flaw with this is you sometimes feel robbed for not getting a good enough understanding or grip of this character. And if Katniss ever turns on him, you side with him, because she has no reason to, and you can distance yourself from her, which the book seems to not want you to do. But the main theme of this book, in my opinion, is one of facade. I've already briefly mentioned that Peeta may have facade. This enforces the theme, but the main element of this theme is, as it's a televised event, and the popular tributes get presents basically from people who want them to win, so the tributes are forced to act in a way to become likable. Katniss doesn't do it well. She's not presented as an actress, but she has to create a facade and we get to see how it's created and how this happens for her and all the effort put behind and her actual reactions to everything and what she says, and then you get to see other people have it, and this is really the only theme that's massively forced, and it somewhat seems to examine the status of celebrity in a modern culture, and I like it. I really want to say more, but I can't without a massive spoiler for future readers. Tad bit of a shame, really, but we may do. Okay, so overall, as I said, I think it's a good book. It's not the deepest book. It's shallow at times. There's stuff I wish could be improved, but most of the improvements come in later books. And it's hard to look at this as an isolated book, though oh god, I didn't write on the board. So in conclusion, this book is good, in my opinion. It is flawed at times. The main flaw being, I exaggerate, I wish you could get a greater understanding of the world around her, because the main character is a tad too self-reflective for my liking. Though this has its own merits, and I see it as flawed, but that could just be me. Other people must disagree. But I want to reiterate, if you're a massive intellectual, it's not as stimulating as you might be looking for. Though it's perfectly solid. It's a book you read for fun, not to be as stimulating and challenged as other people might choose to be. And it's a solid book. It's good enough that you don't have to hide it on a train. It's far from Twilight. Despite saying conclusions actually a bit more. Wait. Okay. More. Okay, so that wraps up my review for the Hunger Games book. If there's more you want to see, comment saying what you'd like to be reviewed. Though, I may venture away from reviewing. Some of my technical language probably isn't good enough to pass myself off as a good reviewer. But, hope you liked it, and signing off in a dramatic fashion.